Hey, how's it going guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim is a land of warriors, merchants, thieves, and mages. As a result, one need not look very far to find all sorts of diverse pieces of equipment. And something that's always fascinated me about the Elder Scrolls V is its almost endless selection of potential armors and apparel. Indeed, way back in 2011 when I first picked up Skyrim, one of the missions I assigned myself over a weekend was to try and find every single piece of armor in the game. Suffice to say, that was not a mission I succeeded in. And frankly, I'm still not sure if I finished. Anyway, you get the idea. A lot of clothes to wear. But a handful of Skyrim's attire options are particularly unique, can be found only once, with special abilities, appearances, and/or backstories that make them really cool. And it's some of those I thought we'd discuss today. So sit back and relax as we take a look at 5 secret and unique armors in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Starting off, we have the Visage of Mizund. This unique artifact can be found far from the shores of Skyrim, instead on the island of Solstheim, within the Dwarven ruins of Falbathars. Falbathars is a truly massive complex, a dungeon where you'll have to fight your way through Reiklings, Dwarven machines, and giant insects, as well as solve a couple of puzzles if you ever hope to reach the end. However, once you do, the Dragonborn will find themselves in a small treasure room, filled mostly with gold and some random level loot. But amongst the goodies will be a unique Dwarven Helmet, the Visage of Mizund. At first glance, it looks like any other Dwemer piece of headgear. But a look at the object's stats, as well as a peek at its enchantment, tells a much different tale. Boasting a stunning rating of 24 points, it's tied for the highest base armor stat of any helmet in the entire game, with the Dragon Priest mask, Kanarik. For comparison, a Daedric helmet offers only 17. Additionally, with a value of 1,000 gold, the Visage is 5 times as pricey as a normal Dwarven helmet variant. But perhaps the coolest thing about Mizund are its 2 enchantments. The first being a 60-point increase to stamina when equipped. That's 6 levels worth, which is pretty helpful. And the second is the Breath of Nshak. I think I butchered that pronunciation, but we'll just keep going. This allows the wearer to release a powerful steam attack. The way this works is that when the item is being worn, a new power will become available in your magic menu. And when activated and triggered, a massive steam will be delivered from the helmet, dealing 15 points of damage to enemies at the cost of not magicka, but 85 points of stamina. This steam attack appears to be inspired by a similar one often used by Dwarven Centurions. And all in all, it's not really that powerful. But it certainly is a unique feature that few other items can emulate. Plus, as we've already mentioned, the rest of the Visage of Mizund's stats do more than enough to earn it a comfortable spot in this video. Next on our list, speaking of the dwarves, the ruins of Ulfdan tell a sad story. Here, not too long ago, a group of adventurers and researchers embarked on an expedition to recover lost ancient artifacts. But things went horribly wrong. You see, the explorers didn't account for the local Falmer population, and as a result, the majority of the team was killed in a series of ambushes and raids. A few have survived, and are actually still holding out down here, though they're quickly losing it. Among those still standing will be a Redguard woman by the name of Umana. When we find her, she'll be in the company of an Imperial called Sola. An argument will break out between the two, and they'll quickly enter combat. The winner will go on to attack the player. Spoiler alert, due to her better stats, it's usually Umana who wins the fight and ends up fighting us. That all said, once they're both taken care of, the Dovahkiin will notice that in the Redguard's inventory is a unique shield, the Targe of the Blooded. Immediately, the first thing that'll stick out about this item is its appearance. No pun intended. A series of spikes protruding from the object's wooden base define its special model, and while the base stats aren't anything to write home about, being about on par with a typical iron shield, the Targe's enchantment clearly reflects its unique appearance. The shield does 3 points of bleeding damage for 5 seconds with every bash, totaling to roughly 15 points of HP loss to enemies per hit, regardless of whatever armor they're wearing or whether or not they're blocking. 15 points isn't huge by itself, but since blocking and our opponent's armor isn't factored, the shield's raw damage output is in fact pretty good comparatively speaking, making it pretty viable. So while its application as a traditional shield may be somewhat mediocre, Targe of the Blooded in many ways can act as a useful secondary weapon of sorts, especially for characters with high stamina, allowing us to deal out strong attacks, all while still under the protection of blocking. Not much more to say. This is an item that definitely deserves a spot in any one-handed player's inventory. Our third spot is less about the item itself being so great, and more about the odd way we go about obtaining it that makes it pretty cool. At Hag's End, a Nordic burial chamber west of Solitude, populated mostly by Forsworn raiders and their Hagraven allies, after you've made your way through the majority of the structure, at the end of the dungeon, the Dovahkiin will find themselves on an outdoor ledge, peppered with all sorts of treasures as a reward. But if you turn east, you'll notice a waterfall coming off a cliffside. This cliffside seems inaccessible at first, but a whirlwind sprint shout will be enough to launch our character onto it. And once here, you'll notice a pair of boots, the Predator's Grace as they're known, tucked beside a tree and a chest which contains some random leveled loot. These secret shoes have the same model and base armor as generic hide boots, but they do come with a couple of enchantments that are worth talking about. The first of which muffles the wearer and allows you to move silently, an excellent sneaky little advantage for all you lovers of stealth. Its second enchantment improves your stamina regeneration speed by a whopping 1%. Which isn't the greatest enchantment ever, but it's something. Suffice to say, while I probably won't be caught wearing the Predator's Grace very often, if at all, the difficulty we go through to acquire them makes these boots a worthy addition to any collection. Coming in at number 4 is the Helm of Ingle. This is a piece of headgear that offers both a unique appearance and a backstory. Plus, it's pretty useful, making for the best kind of trifecta. She can be acquired in Ingle's Barrow, another ancient Nordic tomb in Eastmarch after you've cleared it and faced the dungeon's boss, a spectral draugr named, you guessed it, Ingle. Its model is similar to that of an ancient Nordic helmet, with a slimmer trim and longer protruding horns. And it's got an armor rating of 21, which isn't quite as good as the visage of Mizund, but still very strong in its own right. As mentioned, this item has a neat background, as we learn about it in the book Ingle and the Sea of Ghosts. It belonged to Ingle, the son of the Nordic hero and original conqueror of Skyrim, Ysgramor. The poor boy never got a chance to take part in his father's heroic exploits. According to legend, as the army was sailing from the now lost continent of Atmora down to Skyrim, Ingle's ship was separated from the rest in the midst of the storm, and afterwards, he and his crew were found by mysterious creatures called the Sea Ghosts, which apparently slaughtered them all in a pretty terrifying fashion. After he found out, Ysgramor was, for obvious reasons, fairly upset his son was killed. So, once he was done conquering Skyrim, he led another massive campaign, this time to exterminate those Sea Ghosts. And after he did so, he recovered his son's body and buried him here, in this tomb, with his old helmet. So, the helm we find at this location is far more than just an above-average bit of apparel. It's a piece of Skyrim's very history. And finally, last on our list, in my top 5 unique weapons video that I uploaded around a week ago, I ended it by taking a look at a sword called Windshear that could be found on the Catarrhia, the Emperor's personal ship during the Dark Brotherhood quest Hail Sithis, where we're sent to murder the Emperor to death. So, I figured it would be kinda poetic if we ended this video by showing off a unique bit of armor we can obtain during the same quest aboard that same ship. Here, within the Emperor's own quarters, the very room we do the deed in, all sorts of expensive and valuable knickknacks dot the living space. However, lying on a shelf near Titus Mede II's bed will be a unique set of bracers, called the Gilded Wrist Guards. This is the only place you can get your hands on this item in the entire game. And while the wrist guard stats aren't great, offering 7 armor points and selling for just 21 gold, they do come with a glittering custom-made texture, which is always fun. I'll admit, this is probably the least practical armor piece we've covered in today's video, but I never promised you'd always want to wear these armor types. I mean, they're interesting, but not always the most effective. Frankly, I'm unsure why Bethesda didn't give this item more opportunities to spawn in. I mean, at least the other ones functioned sort of as rewards for clearing a dungeon or discovering a secret area in a way. You don't really have to do anything special to get these wrist guards, or at least not anything extra excluding the rest of the Dark Brotherhood quest. Oh well, at least the next time you find yourself invited to a party at the Thalmor Embassy, your wrists will be appropriately dressed, I suppose. Anyway, on that note, we are going to wrap up. 5 secret unique armor pieces in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of the sets we took a look at today did you find to be the most interesting? And what special pieces of armor or clothing do you know of that you think deserve to be covered? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.